We're here in the final segment of our program with the Minister of State for Finance, Mr. Halkitis. And Mr. Halkitis, you know, electricity is a major concern to a whole lot of people. And I think it is the extent to which the cost of electricity can decrease.
Yes, I think so.
Would be the extent to which businesses will have have some breathing room.
Exactly, and that is why, you know, we were, as a government, looking at how we can reorder the affairs of BEC to get more savings for the customer. And I think early in the new year we'll be able to bring to the public what exactly it is that we intend to do. There's been a few different plans that have evolved, but the aim, obviously, from the consumer straight to the business, it's a huge expense, and to the extent that I think, you know, 3 to 4 times what they pay in the U.S. Of course, circumstances are different, but to the extent that we can bring those down. Part of the issue again has been, for example, BEC would burn a particular type of fuel, and we know that, okay, if you're burning natural gas, it's cheaper, and it's lower cost. But then you have this, in order to be able to burn that, you have a significant investment that has to be made in new engines or converting, if possible, those. I imagine the older ones cannot be converted, but converting those that can be converted to be able to burn that, we're talking in the millions of dollars, in the tens of millions of dollars.
Well, if you listen to members of the union and others, they would suggest to you that some of the engines are obsolete, quite archaic, and they need to be changed altogether.
Yes.
But given the amount of revenue that BEC has been losing, and the cost of operating BEC, do you expect in the short term to see any appreciable improvement in the financial health of BEC?
I think what will happen is if we continue to see a reduction or stabilization of oil prices at this lower level, that will lead to, of course, less expense for them and an improvement in their financial position. And I think we also need to look at administratively some things that can be done to decrease those costs, you know. And but in the longer term, we will have to bite the bullet in terms of investment in new equipment, either to burn cheaper fuel, and an investment in terms of renewable energy.
Where will that money come from to
Exactly.
invest in new engines for BEC?
Exactly, and so that is part of the problem why it has not been done, because we just do not have the room to do it. When I say room, I mean fiscal room, you know, to borrow. You know, if it's going to cost $400-500 million, you know, there's no appetite to put that sort of debt onto the national debt.
Where's the government in terms of reordering things at BEC, in terms of the management? There has been a proposal, I believe, to have 2 sets of operations at BEC.
You know, Mr. Jones, that's a question I think you'll I wouldn't take it on directly because, you know, I'm dealing with finance.
Okay.
But there has been, you know, it's been an ongoing process. At the beginning, there was a discussion as to whether we would separate the production or the generation from the transmission.
Right.
I think we moved away from that, and we moved more to a discussion on how we can get some help in improving the administration and decreasing administrative costs. And I think that is where we are. We're looking at several proposals right now, and in hopefully a very short time, the minister responsible will be able to make an announcement.
Services with VAT. We spoke about our goods. There are lawyers and accountants, and all of these people are going to pay VAT. Are there any services that are exempted? Medical services, I think?
In public facilities,
Yes.
to public patients are exempt. For private, they're not exempt.
Okay.
Education is exempt. Tuition is exempt. And but other education services, for example, continuing education or self-improvement. So any tuition leading to a degree is exempt. So, for example, someone at College of Bahamas studying for their associate's degree or their bachelor's degree, there will be no VAT on that. The services, one question that came up, Mr. Jones, or constantly comes up in the minds of the public is, you're putting VAT on, but you're reducing customs duties, and so don't you end up to the same place? Why are you doing it? And the answer is services.
Yes.
Traditionally, services have not attracted taxation, and so in this sort of modern economy, services represents up to 70% of the economy.
70%.
That's the estimate, and so that was not being taxed, and so that is the
You should have
advantage.
you should have a windfall from services.
We should, and so
Yes.
again, that is why we say we are cautious, but we're saying that over this period of implementation, we can begin to look at further customs duty reductions on goods, where most people of lower income spend the bulk of their money on goods, and so when people speak about the effect on the lower income earners, this tax is actually designed to attract or to be, to attract payment from people who spend money on services, more of their money on services, which are the more well-to-do and people who earn a higher income. And so we expect to, and the whole objective of this VAT exercise was to bring services into the net. And we are hopeful that, as we implement, hopefully there is a windfall. We can go back and look at a wider scope of customs duty reductions on goods and other taxes in the economy.
But given the tax on services, many people appreciate the increase in the cost of living or the cost of doing business.
Yes.
For instance, this company has an audit from a reputable company. That company charges, let's say, for sake of argument, $10,000. They would charge me 7.5% on the $10,000.
Yes.
That goes directly to the government.
Yes.
Right. And there are different reporting periods.
Yes.
Let's explain that.
Yes. The very large companies, companies over $5 million in annual turnover, they're required to report every month.
Every month.
Every month.
Okay.
Okay. We are also making provisions for smaller companies under that to report every 3 months, and for very small companies, they'll be able to do it every 6 months.
Okay.
Okay, and so the idea is, and our research has shown, that the largest 200 companies in the Bahamas will account for anywhere from 60 to 70% of the revenue that we expect to collect. And so, once we are able to satisfy ourselves, it isn't complete, but once we are able to police those 200, we'll be able to police the vast majority of the revenue, and then of course we have to police the smaller companies, but that represents a small amount. It doesn't mean that we are less stringent, but it means that there's a concentration in terms of the turnover in the economy.
So come the end of February or January.
Come the end
of January, you would see an uptick in revenue.
We expect to see it. Now remember, there's going to be some VAT collected at the border beginning January, and companies have a certain amount of time after the end of the month, 21 days to file, and so we expect to see, as we get towards the end of February, to begin to see the returns.
Very good.
Yeah.
Minister, we are out of time.
Yeah.
And I thank you for your explanation to many questions. You are in this for the long haul.
We're in it for the
you personally, because we lost the minister recently.
So yeah.
Yes.
Mr. Jones, it's a very first of all, it's a very, very interesting time to be in government and to be in finance, because we're in at a time when we are faced with a lot of challenges, and we have to address some issues that were long simmering.
Yes.
And so to be able to get to this point where we're reforming the tax system is very exciting. And we're looking forward to a successful implementation. And I can say, I'm in at least until the end of the term, and then, hopefully going forward. But we want to be able, personally, I want to be able to bring some influence on fixing some of these things
Yes.
that have been festering for a long time.
So this must be a high point in your career, because you've been in finance for a long time.
We've been in finance for a long time, and it has been, this reform of the tax system has been an issue that has been recurring from the first time I went into government in 2002, 12 years ago. There was these reports that you have to address it, you have to address the system. We've been able to do it. I want to say thank you to the private sector as well, because at the beginning there was some sharp differences, and I think through the coalition, Bahamas Chamber of Commerce, other business organizations, we've been able to sit down and recognize that we have a lot in common, and our objectives are the same. How we get there might
Yes.
seem to differ, but this has been a tremendous collaboration between all of the industry groups.
Yes.
And there's one or two things that still might be left to be worked out, but I think the collaboration, I think, has been unprecedented.
Yes. And there are some people in your ministry who have been working in overtime. I
Oh,
know
yes.
somebody who is waking up to midnight
Yes. Yes.
every night.
Yes.
And Sundays as well.
Sundays, Mr. Jones, the staff has taken it as a mission, so to speak. I think they believe in it, they see the value of it, and they see the long-term benefit to the country.
Yes.
And once we are able to do it effectively, and once we are able to tweak it and iron out all of the kinks, we truly believe this is the best thing.
Thank you so very much.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
your being here. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you for watching and listening to our program today, and I believe that the public is wiser now as a result of the interview with the Minister of State for Finance, Mr. Michael Halkitis. Thank you for watching. Good evening, everyone.